Hey guys, Alex here from the Cell Doctor project. I promised you that this week I'm going to release a new firmware and software, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can upgrade the firmware and download the new updated software. The first thing you need to do is to go to the megacellcharger.com, scroll to the bottom and go to the downloads page. Right here you can download the firmware and the software, and second is the tool you are going to use to flash the firmware to your device. So you have the USB cable plugged in, you have the 5 volts coming in, and then you must have the files downloaded. I already downloaded them, so what you have is the Cell Doctor v1.1 archive and the Node MCU PyFlasher. You must extract the archive, and inside you have another 2 zip file. The Cell Doc 1.1 is the software, the PC software, and you can place this folder anywhere on your drive, and then you can run the software. The second archive is the firmware, which you are going to flash onto your device, and for that we need to launch a Node MCU PyFlasher. Note that this version is for 64-bit Windows. You can find it online for 32 bits as well, or I will try to find it and post it in case any of you still use 32 bits. And going here on the serial port, you must select the port for your board. Go here. The only thing you need to do is to leave the settings as default, and make sure you don't wipe all the data on the ESP device. If you choose to do this, it will erase the old firmware and all the settings for activating it, and the device won't boot anymore. So I suggest you leave settings as they are and don't erase flash. Otherwise you won't be able to use the charger anymore, and you will have to contact us to fix it for you. So right now you click the Flash Node MCU. You'll notice that the display won't update anymore during the firmware flashing, and once you got to the end of flashing, you must click on this reset button right here. The wireless settings will be saved. You should have the device still connecting properly, and when you get it booting, you should see the updated screen. You have here the cycles, number of cycles that the device performed for the charge and discharge. On top you have temperature of the cells and the internal resistance. That's all the physical changes, and I'm going to go with you over the stuff that we changed on the software. And I also want to make a quick notice that some of you had some issues with some cells showing voltage high, like you have cells not occupied, and then it will show you 4.3, 4.4 volts. That's due to the thin wire from the PSU. We found this ourselves as well. This wire is too thin to handle 16 amps, and it will create a big voltage drop. It's pretty long as well, about 1.5 meters. So we measured at the input here, it was under 5 volts, and the PSU had 5.5 volts set on it. So Make sure you check the voltage drop across your wire, because that will cause problems with the board. We have some thresholds for voltage, and if those are not met, you'll get some strange values. The board will still work, but it will show you some strange values for the not occupied cells, and you also won't be able to reach full 1 amp for each cell if voltage is not properly. Okay, so let me open the software and go over the things that we changed. I did some I did go over some stuff on my pre-launch video, I should say, but right now I have a complete list of changes, and I will go over them one by one. So the first thing is that we found a bug that if you would manually stop charging a cell and you had others still charging, it will stop the fans. So I fixed that thing. So second, we implemented cycles functionality. Let me open the software and show you that. I'll save the settings to have these two IP addresses saved in. This is the other charger. Okay, so this is the charger that we just flashed. You will notice that the software also shows version 1.1. And right here in the interface, you're going to see this next to the actions drop down. When you activate the measure capacity and store, you are able to set the number of cycles that you want to run on this cell. I also found a bug that the store voltage was not saving into the database, and I fixed that. And if you're planning to use old projects, you will need to update the database, and I'm going to show you how to do this as well. You are going to need to download the SQLite Explorer. So just get the portable one. With this software, you can edit SQLite databases or view them. In order to open a database, you will need to close the cell doctor. Make sure you have it closed, otherwise you won't be able to edit the database. Go to File and Open Database. Choose the database. So in order to have the database working with the new software version, you go to the Cell Save Settings, right-click and Modify Table. Add a new field and call that Store Voltage. So it's store underline voltage. Make sure you use capital letters, otherwise it won't detect it. Type float in here. You'll see that this updates, and you can also move field up. So you have it exactly like the new database. And then save. Control S, or I think it's saved automatically. So right now your database is updated, and the cell doctor will work with this, store the voltage. Otherwise it will crash when trying to store the value here. This software is also useful if you are going to monitor the database. You can open a database in read-only, so you can have mega cell charger and this software open at the same time with the same database. You won't be able to make changes inside the SQLite browser, but you can view what's input in there, sort fields, export, and various. You can save in CSV, JSON to use it with your printer or whatever. So that's about updating the firmware, updating the database, and I'm going to carry on with the changes. So I was saying about the cycle implementation, and I did not finish talking about that. That will charge and discharge the cell, and you're going to see the last capacity, the last measurement of the last discharge in here. So the next thing is the ability to set the max discharge current, and that can be found in the settings tab right here. You must be connected to the device, so make sure it shows connected successfully, and you're going to see these buttons being enabled to load device settings. When you load the device settings, you are going to get all the default values from the charger. You can tune these values as you like. And you have here the max discharge milliamps. This can be set from 100 to 1000. These default values are going to be used in case you don't use the software to send commands to the charger, and you just use the button, the action button, to start the capacity measurement. You have the max temp cutoff. Can set it however you like. In case your cell will get hot, it will be marked as hot discharge or charge, depending which action the charger was performing, and stop that action. You will see it in the interface that the cell will stop because it got hot. So max voltage. And that's about it. After you change the settings, make sure you click on change device settings. This will upload the settings to the device, and from now on, if you load again, you're going to get the settings that you just saved. I added this area right here where you can set the master values. This will set to all the cells. This was a request from someone on Facebook, I believe, and that looked like a great idea, because if you want to test fast and you want to set it to more cells at the same time, this is helpful. You can also set the action and the number of cycles. This will not interrupt the charger. If it's doing any action, it will change just the interface default values, and if you're going to perform an action afterwards, it will use those values. All right. Yeah, this I talked about the information on the charger display. So this one is about the configuration module that I just shown, that you get the default settings saved on the device and you can update them from the interface. The store voltage field added to the database, I just showed you. This one is when creating a new batch, it will erase the old values for capacity and internal resistance from the charger. It will send a request to the charger to clear up the old batch values to make it clear that a new batch has started. Before, it was erasing them when discharging started, so it was still showing the right values, but it was confusing. Added a filter when displaying cells. Yeah, this one was also a user's request from most of the changes actually were suggested by users. The cycles features I discussed with Tom Ammerman from the battery hookup. This filter is if you don't have any cells connected, it will cycle through all of them, but if you are going to have cells showing higher voltage, and 0 volts, obviously. It will cycle just through those two cells right now. This is particularly useful if you are removing cells and you want to read them or write on them while they're getting removed. So that's about it with the changes for the version 1.1 on the firmware and software. One thing I want to mention for those users which has issues connecting the Wi-Fi of the charger to their router is that you have 60 seconds from the moment you powered on the device to connect to the device from your phone or laptop or other device with Wi-Fi and configure the settings. If you pass those 60 seconds, you're going to need to reset the charger. So you have, again, a new window of 60 seconds. If it shows you a different page from the configure page, it means you must reset the device. One thing you can also do is to connect to the device from your laptop, and it will act as a router. It will give you an IP address. You have the default username and password in the manual to connect to the device. And that way, you can send commands without connecting the charger to your router, and you're going to need the Ethernet cable for your internet connection for your laptop. But the easiest way I found is connecting the charger to the router, and after you do those settings, it will boot up automatically without any issues. After I set up the SSID and password, save the settings, it will show you that the settings have been applied. It will try to connect to the router next time it boots up. If you messed up the settings, it will go to the configuration page again, and if you want to connect to a different router, you can disconnect the router, so unplug your router that your device was connected to. The charger will try to connect to it. It won't find it, and it will go back to the configuration page, so then you can change the settings. I'm going to implement something in the future to erase wireless settings from the bottom or something like this, but for now this is the workarounds I suggest using until you have proper reset into the device. Thank you very much for your support, guys, and I'm going to be around, solve all the issues, make this charger the best tool you can use for testing 18650 cells. Have a great day. Bye.